site, all of that quickly, as was probably identified before. On your first and then we go into your context page. So I think the last time Fraser spoke to you, you had some good kind of initial research to kind of some idea designs and some primary research, but it was maybe lacking in secondary research.
Yeah.
I think I can see where you've addressed that. I'm on the wrong page, aren't I? No, I'm on the right page. Sorry, so good research into kind of like how to create the objects you needed there. I can see you've addressed it in these sections here, yeah?
Yeah.
Through Hargreaves. For me, I think you have addressed it, but I think it just needs to be a bit more thorough in its analysis. And I think that's kind of in the way that it's missing a kind of a deep deconstruction of a single environment. So you've found some environments, and I can see where you're pulling that information from. So, uh, dirty floor and that kind of nothing's been looked after. So you got that abandoned look. Um, but if you think about something like this, so this map on Crisis of Lab, you wanted yours to be horror and sci-fi at the time. You're going to use it as a reference for the sci-fi side of the map. It's got the facility type floor, futuristic interiors. Okay, but you haven't explained what that is to me, and I know you haven't actually progressed that. You've kind of gone more for the horror look, haven't you? Really?
Yeah.
But even in this point, you haven't really talked about what that is. So the facility type floor, what is a facility? Like, if I said to you, outside of knowing this image, Cameron, can you make me a facility type floor? I doubt you would know what I'm asking you to create. So it's about really breaking that information down. And I think it's kind of, this one is probably really useful. But again, hospital vibes gives the player an uneasy feeling as you don't know the reason for the abandonment or the experiments. Okay, good. You're identifying some of those things, but you need to drill into it more. So what tells us that? What's giving us that information? What's telling us that story? The bed with the huge lights over it suggests this is an operating room. Why is it been abandoned? There's a smashed window which shows age. Nobody cares for it. There's graffiti, so we know there's some form of human
Interaction.
Yeah, exactly. Good. We can see there's leaking areas of rust where it's come through, so we know this has been a long time. No one's looked after it. But we can tell it was quite a high tech facility because it's got this kind of barrier. This is all mechanically operated. There's air conditioning and fan. So what I'm looking for is for you to really take maybe 2 to 3 images and really break them down by object, by item, by layout. What's there? What's giving us that information? Yeah, like
Yeah.
even just the fact that there are bottles on the floor tells us something different than the fact there's bottles on the side. And I think for me that's that extra bit that just needs to kind of come into play to get that research up into like securing it into that kind of merit level for me.
Yeah.
So going on to your practical skills page, so we've got your concept art, mind maps, exploration of kind of how to mask, and then just moving into design. You're quite good at documenting your process here. Talking about your blood spatter, and then working with Jakob, and then each sharing your skills, which is good. You talk through your processes. I think what you could do as well is talk through, kind of reflect on your success with those processes. Like, do you think that your practical techniques have allowed you to realize your intentions? As in, does it look how you wanted it to look? Do you think you're getting that information across? Are you confident with what you're saying? So you've got the kind of documentation of process, but you haven't necessarily documented your kind of reflection on your own growing abilities and ability to realize your intention.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So again, yeah, you're good at documenting what you're doing. This render here looks great. Looks really nice. And you can see all those things. But again, all this stuff has come from research and images that you've looked at. So just make sure you're documenting those things in that research stage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then we've got your kind of your overall level here. In terms of the environment, then I'm just going to jump over to Yeah, just the fact that we kind of looked at that image before and took so much information from it, we can think about that. In terms, so this is your kind of final fly through cam.
Yeah, I had to do it via 3DS because the GPU render wasn't working and the CPU would take too long. So
Yeah. So I think where you are then, what you've got left to do is kind of go back to that research element and just show me a bit more of that documentation of analysis of similar spaces. There's the final evaluation, but I think there's a bit of time to just maybe go back to this and just add a bit more flavor to it, add a
yeah,
bit more personalization. So, for example, we look at this, yeah, and we've got
yeah,
the writing on the wall. We look at this final image of Dead Space, writing on the wall, yeah,
yeah. I have talked about it on that picture
yeah,
about the writing on the wall, but I don't think I've done it like well on the other pictures. So, like,
yeah, and it's fine, and that's what you can do for me in that other research thing. But then maybe realize it in this. So maybe there is, some scrawlings on some of the walls, and that's giving the player some information about the environment. Maybe there are a few things that have fallen off and are scattered along the floor. Yeah,
yeah,
because what you've got the kind of you've got the layout and you've got the uh trying to think how to say it. There's the environment, there's the area, but you haven't filled that environment. You haven't given.
yeah. It's like the detail.
Yeah, that's it. So I think you've got that bit of time now. So maybe just do that extra bit of research, work out what those details are that you can add, and document all that, and then maybe see what you can quickly add into this, and then do another fly through of it, so you can show that you're taking it that step further. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Cool. I've lost my matrix. Bear with me a sec. Okay. So in terms of where we are, so I think for context, and for research, I think previous phrases said you're kind of that merit level for research. I think for me, I'm seeing them. I think your context is still at that pass.
yeah.
I think the research is. I could argue it's kind of low merit, high pass. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
And that for me is like in terms of your practical research, I think that's good. But I think that bit that I've talked about that's missing, that I want you to go back and do and explore a bit more, that's that bit that's missing. But it's that thorough research, and that synthesis of information that's
so,
missing for me.
yeah. So how would I sort of reach the distinction, and would there be enough time to like get that up to distinction?
Um, I think I think time wise it would be a challenge. Yeah.
Yeah,
If we got a week and a half. So for distinction, like what I'd want to see is I'd want to see a deep dive into the horror genre, how narrative is used to allow the player to explore and structure an opening space.
yeah,
I'd be looking to see that kind of advanced narrative understanding, so you know what the game is on a wider scale, not just on the bit you're working on. Um, I'd be looking to see a bit more audience research, audience testing, so responses from people to your product. I'd also be looking for some really in-depth analysis of micro and macro features. So the macro features is more of what you've done, yeah, the bigger scale things, but it would also be like how we're moving through that level, how we're experiencing it, what limitations might be in place. Can the player only walk at certain, all those types of things.
yeah,
And that's not necessarily saying you'd implement them, because we know we're not implementing engines this year, but it's saying that you've considered them. In terms of micro features, then it would be that really close analysis. So it wouldn't just be there'd be graffiti on the wall, but that graffiti would be really thought through.
like
Maybe,
saying sort of help us or something like that.
well, yeah, but it has to has that wider purpose, that wider narrative. It's not just grabbing a texture or a simple thing. It's like, is the first thing I see telling me a bit of story, and then I see something later on that tells me a bit more, or does it make me not want to go into a room because it suggests there's something in? Yeah, so it's all about that information. How am I providing meaning to the player? So it's that research and implementation I want to see. So I think in terms of getting your work currently up to that point, I think distinction at this stage, I think it'd be quite hard to get up to there because you'd have to see it implement. Because the other part of it is the synthesis. So doing the research is fine, but I have to see it implemented in the practical skills.
Okay.
But I think focus on getting what I said before about that in-depth kind of look at other environments and the objects, and make sure that's secure. So you're definitely getting that merit. And then if you feel you have time, move on to the extra things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And that's the same. The context is the same thing, and it goes back to what Fraser was saying. I found the same in that he said it's quite hard to see the genre of your game from your portfolio. I think as I go through that context and research, I start to get a better idea, but it's still not really massively clear to me that it's like, right, I'm making this type of horror game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even at the moment, I'm getting the idea of horror, but I'm not understanding the subgenre. So, for example, if I think of a horror game, Left 4 Dead is a horror game, Resident Evil is a horror game, and Among Us is a horror game. Are those games at all alike? Not really. Resident Evil is a slow pace, move around a house, chased by a single entity enemy. Left 4 Dead is a high octane combat environment multiplayer game, and Among Us is a social communication game with very little action. So it's about really defining that context further. So it's good that you've got that horror. Like I said, you're definitely in that pass area, but by really defining what type of horror it is and how you're implementing that through your design and concept, that's what pushes it up into the merit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think practical skills, where consistent and appropriate processes, skills, and knowledge apply to extend and query and develop creative solutions. I'm happy with that. I think that's in the merit. I think your evaluation and reflection is at the moment effective communication, analysis and interpretation, independent synthesis of information, application, reason, decision making to informed development of ideas. A bit more on that stuff I've asked you to do for context of research will help secure this final part of that criteria. So reason, decision making to informed development of ideas. But I also think once you do your final evaluation, that will start to come out. So I think really where we are, Cameron, is these two are in pass, but if you do what I'm asking you to, you'll get them up into merit. I think these two, this one's in a merit, this one's, working towards a merit because it's not a complete criteria that we can assess yet because we need the final evaluation.
So will we be told what to put in the evaluation, or would
yes, just... yeah. We'll give you a guide for that, and we'll go through that. Okay, yeah. So we'll do that soon. I'll either do that on Friday, or Fraser will do it first thing Monday morning. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. But yeah, so I think that's it. I think at the moment, let's target that merit, and then if we're feeling confident towards middle next week, we can start to look at some of these distinction criteria. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Any other questions?
So far, I've just got to just change my add to my research.
Add to your research, some more in-depth research of horror game environments, so that you can implement them into your level design.
Yeah. So I've got to do more research and then kind of connect that research to what I've added to my map. Then.
Yeah. So what I would kind of do, if I were you thinking about timescales, Cam, I think by Friday try and have that extra research done, so that you can come in on Monday, and any extra little bits that you need to add, you can do that Monday and Tuesday, and then that gives you the rest of the week to get that evaluation done.
Yeah. So do I just look at more horror games and try to take up the components?
Yeah, I would just use a still. I would find a single room and just break down all the features within it, like really overanalyze them. Yeah. Think about colors, think about objects, think about placements, and what we call composition. So it's all these, if you remember this term from way back when we did unit 2, mise en scène, those elements. Yeah. So really break those down, and that's how you're going to give meaning to your play.
Okay.
Cool. All right then, mate. I'll send this through to you as soon as it's done, and then if you also add it to your
evaluation. Yeah.
Same as last time, and then the write-up for it. Okay, cool. All right then, mate. Thanks for that.
All right. See ya.